now. Alright, so Teresa's setting up this benzonitrile reaction. She's going to go ahead and grease the joint here. That's important. We're using sodium hydroxide, which can tend to freeze these joints if we don't grease them. So she's putting some grease around the bottom of that condenser. You'll notice she's already got the tubing hooked up to condenser as well, and the one that's hooked into the faucet is the bottom one, and the other one is sitting in the sink. Alright, so let's go ahead and, are you ready to add the materials? Okay, so let's take the flask out of the clamp here and we'll put it into a cork ring. Do you have a cork ring?
I don't have a cork ring. I need to grab one.
There we go. Alright, so she's going to add the, what is that? So sodium hydroxide, how much?
I have 50 milliliters of 10% sodium hydroxide.
Yep.
And I have 2 milliliters of benzonitrile.
Okay, let's go ahead and add them together. Now you can do it this way as long as you're careful, but sometimes it's good to use a funnel as well. Alright, let's go ahead and put that into the mantle. You'll notice that the benzonitrile doesn't dissolve, it sort of just sits on top, right, Teresa?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So she's just having that sit in there right now. And now she's clamping it in by the neck, which is good technique. And now she's going to put the condenser, or sorry, you got a couple of boiling stones.
I
Yes.
have boiling stones to add.
Let's put the boiling stones in as well. That's good. And now we put the condenser on here. As I said, the water goes in the bottom and comes out the top, so it fills up. Now, there's one other thing we're going to add to this as well. So we're going to add to this a drying tube that goes on the top. Now this is going to be something that is going to eat up any of the side product. Go ahead and stick it in, please, Teresa. And that is going to have the purpose of eating up any ammonia that might be formed during this process. Now she's going to just go ahead and turn on the water. And she's going to go ahead and put it on 10, and then once it starts boiling, she'll turn it down to about 5 or 6. She'll start timing her hour once it starts to boil. So this is the boiling benzonitrile and the sodium hydroxide. And as you can see, there is still a little bit of benzonitrile still left on the surface here. She's turned it down to about 5. She did start the boiling on about 10 and just sort of calmed it down a bit. So now it's been boiling for an hour, and Teresa's going to take the heat right away from this. And we're going to take the heat right away, so you're going to pull that right out from it. There we go, perfect. And now we're going to let this sit for a bit. So now it's been sitting for a while and it's cooled down, and we're going to go ahead and stick this flask into the ice. So go ahead and take off the condenser. And she did grease that joint earlier, which makes it a lot easier to get off. And yeah, that's good technique because that flask could be quite hot. She's going to stick that right into the ice. And see, she's going to remove the clamp there. And we're going to take that over. And well, we're going to let this sit in the ice for a while, and then we're going to add the acid to it to acidify it. Alright, so that's going to sit in there for about 5 minutes or longer. Here. Right, so we're going to now acidify this solution. It's been sitting in the ice for a while, which is good because this is going to be an exothermic process, and if it's already hot, then we could end up boiling the solution. We don't want that to happen. So if it's been sitting in the ice for a while, it should be good. Let's go ahead and add the add the acid. Now we're going to be adding this from an acid dropping bottle, and if you look at the acid dropping bottle, you look at the top there, you'll see it's got this nub. Could you point at the nub, please? Yeah, she's pointing at the nub. That needs to be in line with this channel right down here. And what she's going to do is she's going to put her finger on top of that, and now she's just going to drop the acid into this container. Now as she adds it, what's going to happen is that... Is it coming out?
There it goes.
Okay. Not sure it's quite in line.
Try it.
Let's make sure that that nub is in line with the channel there. There we go. Let's try that again. All right. Yeah, I think that's a bit better. There we go. That's good. You notice it's going to smoke a bit. That's why we're doing this in the fume hood. Okay, so could you pull that out, please, Teresa? And you can see that there's a little bit of solid in there, but not very much. And we get this smoke on top. But that's okay. Go ahead and continue to add it. And we're going to add it until we see a precipitation that persists. Yeah, keep going. You're going to keep going. Keep going. We're not even going to bother testing for litmus until we see full precipitation here. Now we could have to add a fair amount of acid here, but that's okay. Alright, so we're continuing to add here. You can see that it is forming some cloudiness in there. Okay, stop for a second. Let's give it a bit of a swirl. There we go. And is it persisting? No, we still need to add more. As you can see, when she swirled it, the solid went away. That's okay. Alright, let's give it a swirl. Keep swirling. And it looks as though the solid's not going away. So let's go ahead and test that for litmus. And the way she's going to do that is she's got a stirring rod in there. She's going to take that stirring rod, and let's bring the litmus paper around to the front here, please. Litmus paper is on a piece of, on a watch glass here. And she's going to go ahead and just put one drop onto the litmus paper. We never test directly with litmus paper, we always just put a drop on litmus paper. So I'm looking at that, and I can see that it's turned red, which is good. That means that we don't have to add any more acid. So we're good with this. So we've acidified the solution, and we should have benzoic acid pretty much in water here. There might be some leftover benzonitrile. Teresa, just go ahead and put a little bit of liquid on top of that to flatten out the... Oh, no, you're good. Just from the...
Just from here?
Yeah, just from here, yeah. Just to flatten out that filter paper. That's good.
Okay.
Alright, now you can swirl and dump. Swirl and dump. There we go. Just pour it in.
Stop this with it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah. So Teresa's got 10 mils of cold water. She's going to use that to rinse out her flask here. This cold water is better because it won't dissolve as much of the benzoic acid. That's good. Let's go ahead and pour it straight on. Now we don't have to worry about this being completely dry, so we'll let this sit for a few minutes, and then we will do the recrystallization step. So this has been drying now, and we're going to go ahead and put it into a small Erlenmeyer flask. A 25 or a 50 will be fine. We've got a 50. So Teresa's going to go ahead and scrape that benzoic acid out. So now we're going to do the recrystallization step. Now that we've transferred the solid into our container, would you please go ahead and put a boiling stone in, Teresa? No, into your flask. There we go. That's fine. All right. Now what we're going to do is use the ethanol there to rinse in what's in the funnel. Yeah, so we're going to be recrystallizing with the ethanol. Now it says boiling ethanol, but it doesn't mean that the ethanol has to be boiling before the solid goes in. What I really prefer to do is have the solid in there initially and then boil the ethanol. So let's go ahead and turn that on, please. You can put that up to the side. That's all right. Now if we're dealing with ethanol boils fairly low, so it's not like we're going to turn this up the full way. Maybe about a third would be okay for ethanol, and then we're going to wait for this to boil. And hopefully this stuff will dissolve in this volume of ethanol. If it doesn't dissolve, we'll add a little bit more ethanol to make it dissolve and then wait for it to boil. But let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Alright, let's give that a little bit of a swirl, please, Teresa. It's as you can see, it's gone a bit cloudy here. And the reason it's cloudy is because, well, first of all, it hasn't completely dissolved yet, but once it's dissolved, it still could be cloudy, and the reason for that would be that there might be some benzonitrile that's still left in the liquid. That would be stuff that didn't react. Alright, so it does appear to be boiling now, and it does look like... Could you give it a bit of swirl, please, Teresa? Let's see if it's completely dissolved. Do you see any solid left in the bottom?
I don't.
No, okay. So there's no solid left in the bottom, and it is a little bit cloudy, but what we're going to do now is we're going to add some water here to try and force this benzoic acid out of solution. And sometimes it's like this. It can be cloudy initially, and what we're trying to do is we're going to make it more cloudy. So Teresa's going to actually add a full milliliter of water to this just to see what happens, and then we're going to let it boil. So she's adding a full squirt here. And now we're going to let this boil again, and we're going to see if it's gotten any cloudier. Because the idea here is we're trying to force this benzoic acid out of the ethanol solution so that when we put it into the ice, it will crystallize. Okay, let's add one more squirt of water here. And we'll wait for it to boil again. It does look cloudier now, so that's good. I think what we're going to do now is add some ethanol to bring it back to the point of cloudiness that we had it at originally. So we're going to add a little bit of ethanol now to bring it back to the same point of cloudiness that we had it at originally. And just about a mil, I think, is probably going to do it. And it does look like it's come back pretty much to the cloudiness that we originally had, which is pretty much what we want to do. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this off the flask. We might want to use a pair of tongs here. So I've got some flask tongs here, and we're going to take this off, put it on the bench. We'll let it cool for a little bit, and then we're going to stick it into the ice. Alright, so it's been sitting for a little while. Now we're going to put it into the ice. And we'll just go ahead and bury that a little bit, please, Teresa. There we go. And we're going to let this sit for a bit and hopefully get some crystals. Pull the crystals out there. And we'll just show them to the camera here. As you can see, I'm not really very happy with the number of crystals here. So what I'm going to get you to do, Teresa, is just add a whole bunch of water to that, please. And we'll see if we can get some promote some more crystal formation here. There we go, look at that. Now give it a bit of a swirl. Stop for a second. Give it a bit of a swirl. Yeah, take a look at that. See all those crystals? Yeah, I'm going to zoom in on that. Yeah, you can see all those crystals there. It's good. Give it a bit more of a swirl. You can see them all up along the side there. That's great. Alright, and we're going to put that back in the ice for a little bit. And we will wait for that to reach the temperature of the ice. So let's go ahead and turn on the vacuum, please, Teresa. So this has been sitting in the ice, and now it is as cold as the ice. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of water to that, just to flatten down the filter paper. That's good. And now we're going to go ahead and filter our solution. And we've got lots of nice crystals there. And we could rinse that out with a little bit of cold water. I think that's what Teresa's going to do, and then we're going to let that sit for about, let's get some cold water in there. Alright, and now we're going to pour that in. Alright, that'll do it. So we're going to let this sit for a bit, and then maybe until probably about 10 to 15 minutes, because it's water, and then that's going to give it enough time to dry. And you can see those crystals are a whole lot nicer than what they were, nice and shiny. And then we can take a melting point of that and get a mass of it as well.